Julianne. I call this November 9, 2021 virtual admin meeting of the Bernalillo County Commissioners to order. We will have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Benson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much, Commissioner Benson. And now, Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Madam Chair, good evening and good evening, Commissioners. We have no addition or changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So then on to proclamations. I will start off with the Armistice Day proclamation. Julianne, is Charles Powell with us this evening?
Madam Chair, I do not see him on.
Okay. Charles Powell of Veterans for Peace requested this proclamation. By the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. Whereas November 11, 2021 commemorates the 103rd anniversary of Armistice Day, the holiday created to celebrate the end of World War I, the war to end all wars, and dedicated to peace among all nations. And whereas during the Cold War era, Armistice Day was renamed Veterans Day, and the holiday's emphasis on peace and the intent to foster peace among all nations was lost. And whereas peace benefits our veterans and military members because they have already made such great sacrifices, and whereas the exhaustion of all diplomatic means must precede putting our military members in harm's way, and whereas there exists no national holiday dedicated to peace, as was the intent behind the creation of Armistice Day in 1918, and whereas never before has the need to bring peace among all nations and all peoples been more urgent, and whereas weapons and violence not only plague the planet internationally, but also across our country, state, city, neighborhoods, and in our schools and homes, and whereas our community, the citizens of the United States, and peoples of all nations thirst for peace. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, does hereby proclaim November 11, 2021 as Armistice Day and Veterans Day in Bernalillo County, and we urge all residents to join in the celebration of peace among all nations and all peoples, and to join the effort to reestablish a national holiday dedicated to peace at home and to peace among all nations. Done this 9th day of November 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, and signed by all the commissioners. And I just want to thank again Charles Powell for bringing this proclamation forward, and the Veterans for Peace for promoting peace, and to all veterans, thank you for your services and your sacrifices. Thank you. And so moving on. Next is Family Court Awareness Month. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Bernalillo Board of Commissioners, sponsored by all the commissioners, whereas November is Family Court Awareness Month. The month of November provides an excellent opportunity for Bernalillo County to demonstrate its support in recognizing the importance of a family court system that prioritizes child safety and acts in the best interests of children. Whereas during the inaugural Family Court Awareness Month, November 2020, the top advocates in the family court system joined forces in a united effort to honor the 758 children who had been murdered by a separating or divorcing parent. This collaboration was organized by Tina Swithin of One Mom's Battle and Sandra Ross of California Protective Parents Association. Joining in this awareness campaign was the National Family Violence Law Center, the Court Said USA, Cadence Corner Foundation, Kyra Franchetti Foundation, Pollock Group LLC, Center for Judicial Excellence, and the Stop Abuse Campaign. And whereas the collective efforts to coin the month of November as Family Court Awareness Month received recognition and endorsements from California Congresswoman Judy Chu, Senator Susan Rubio, and Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio. And whereas notable voices in the domestic violence and family court advocacy communities participated in a series of press conferences across the country. Speakers at these events included Jacqueline Franchetti, whose daughter Kyra Franchetti was murdered because of a New York family court failure, Anna Estevez, whose beloved son, Piqui, was murdered because of a California court failure, and Kathy Sherlock, mother of Katie, who was murdered because of a Pennsylvania family court failure. Since last November, the number of children murdered by separating or divorcing parents has increased to 806. 48 additional children have lost their lives in less than a year. And whereas currently many families in our community are struggling in silence and facing the reality that child safety is not being prioritized, our family court system lacks the proper training on domestic violence, childhood trauma, and post-separation abuse. Whereas it is our goal for Family Court Awareness Month 2021 to shine a spotlight on solutions and the important work of educating the public, as well as emphasizing one's personal commitment to help support matters that are of the utmost importance to your community, child safety. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim November 2021 as Family Court Awareness Month, done this 9th day of November 2021 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico, signed by all of the commissioners. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As you all know, this is very prominent here in New Mexico, where child abuse is rampant and domestic violence is rampant. So I'm honored to be reading this proclamation.
And Madam Chair, we do have Ms. Tina Swithin on with the Family Court, who was copied as the requester for this proclamation.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Ms. Swithin.
thank you. My name is Tina Swithin. I'm an author, advocate, and creator of Family Court Awareness Month. I entered the family court system 12 years ago, like so many, naively believing that child safety was prioritized. It just seems like common sense, but that's sadly not what's happening in our family court system. Parental rights are often prioritized over child safety. My own daughters are safe, and I know that we are some of the lucky ones, but had the courts listened to me from day one, it would have spared my daughters 6 years of severe trauma. Most family court judges have absolutely no training in domestic violence or trauma. And as we heard in the numbers being read off in the proclamation, they're literally holding children's lives in their hands. And the number has grown by almost 7. We've lost almost 7 children to murder just since we first sent the proclamation in and requested that. So I believe it's 52 children have been murdered in a year. We know that domestic violence is about power and control, and that doesn't just vanish when the relationship ends. It transitions into the courtroom, and the children are often used as pawns. So we believe that the first step towards change is creating awareness. So we are grateful to you for joining us in this awareness campaign. We have over 200 cities, counties, and states who have come on board just in the past 8 weeks. So my gratitude to all of you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Barbeau, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, thank you, Commissioner Benson, for bringing this important proclamation. And Ms. Swithin, I thank you so much for sharing your own story and why you do this work. You know, in previous years, we had done some work with young parents who when we were talking to young parents, a lot of people talk about teen pregnancy and the big problem it is, right? We did work directly with young parents and asked them, as young people, often still navigating a school system, still sometimes under their parents, and now navigating a relationship with a child. And I was a young parent, so I'm passionate about this work too. The number one thing that we interviewed and did work for over a year with like over 300 young parents across the state. And the number one thing that they said was that help navigating that relationship. And I think, I know you're talking, there's like extremities. So definitely like things that are harmful, trauma, violence, and everything in between, like just family court in general that is dealing with those little nuances of, I've seen it within my own family, like fighting, using, like you said, using the children instead of thinking of the best interest of children, right? So yes, thank you for bringing this. I think that there's, consider me a partner if there's something I can help on, Commissioner Benson as well. I think addressing this, if there's policy we can make that adds to, how do we explore the model? They don't have model. I bring up the conversation about the young parents because I think once somebody becomes a parent, like they realize we need to figure this thing out, right? And so I guess there is something that even young people that have gone through the family court system can help support our courts to really learn and do better.
Absolutely. I would love to connect with you on that.
Yes, I don't have the solution, but please, let's work on it.
You know what? It's at this point, it's about conversations and creating awareness and joining together. And I have seen so much progress moving forward just in the past year of us putting these issues on the map. So I'm grateful for the connections and awareness and interest in helping.
Ms. Swithin, please include me in that communication. And this is such an important battle, and it goes beyond family court even. I mean, there's so many families that don't even get a chance to get to family court.
Right.
And there's, I mean, our CYFD system is, it's a mess. And you're right, it's so many times it's the parents or supervising family whose rights are weighed the heaviest, and the rights of the children who often suffer and have the smallest voice just get ignored. So thank you for your work and keep carrying the fire. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Swithin, for bringing this to our attention, because you're right, awareness is the first step to change. So thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Benson, for sponsoring this proclamation. And so moving on, thank you.
Thank you.
Acknowledgement of Dr. Joe Valles. Commissioner O'Malley, presentation of acknowledgement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my honor. Can you hear me okay? Okay. It's my honor to sponsor this acknowledgement in remembrance of Dr. Joe Valles, who unexpectedly passed away recently. Dr. Valles was a well-known community advocate who loved our city and worked thoughtfully and diligently to make it a safer, more prosperous place for all of our families. We are joined today by members of his family and some other community members who wish to say a few words in his honor, but I'm going to begin by reading the acknowledgement. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Joe Valles, acknowledging that Dr. Joe Valles was born south of Belen in Jarales, where he was raised by his grandparents on their family farm. He later moved to the South Valley in his youth, attending Rio Grande High School, where he was co-editor of the school's yearbook. After serving in the Army, Dr. Valles graduated from the University of New Mexico and later the University of Southern California School of Dentistry. He started his successful dental practice in 1981 in Albuquerque and would go on to proudly serve as president of the New Mexico Dental Association. Acknowledging that Dr. Valles was an active member as well as an advocate and leader in the West Side community who had a lifelong commitment to social activism, and acknowledging that he was consistently involved in local policy making, directing decision makers to local voices, and being a prominent voice himself, working against interests that would exploit the system for their own benefit, and acknowledging that Dr. Valles had a special interest in protecting environmentally sensitive lands and was instrumental in the public acquisition of the Oxbow along the Rio Grande, and applied his own understanding to city planning and to improve the experience and lives of everyone who lived in the community, and acknowledging that he was a regular speaker at planning commission meetings and worked closely with planning directors on neighborhood issues, fighting for economic and job growth as the city expanded toward the West Side. Acknowledging that while Dr. Valles was proud of his professional accomplishments, he was most proud of his family. Survived by his wife, Joanne, sons Dr. Domingo Valles and Dr. Emiliano Valles, a grandson, and many extended family members. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County of Commissioners recognizes and remembers the life of Dr. Joe Valles and honors his memory. Done this 12th day of October 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, presented this day, October 12, 2021, and signed by all the commission members. With us today, if I could call first on Joanne Valles, his wife, and she's with us. I think she's got her grandson with her, maybe. Joanne, you're on mute if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you very much. He would be very honored with this proclamation. He loved what he did, and he fought hard for what he believed. And I just wanted to say, he was just a hero for our neighborhood. And it turned out that he was a hero for the whole damn city. So sorry, but I'm just happy that you are honoring him in this way. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing him all these years. I know sometimes it probably wasn't easy. I know that his sons are also with us, Emiliano and Domingo, if they could be able to
Sure,
speak.
thank you very much. Just very briefly, I'd like to echo my mom's appreciation and thanks for acknowledging my dad. I do know that he put a lot of his heart and soul and effort into kind of participation in local governance. And I sure hope that we can carry on at least a modicum of his participation, perhaps maybe later in career. But you know, I hope that everyone can tell that we're super proud of my dad. And so thank you all.
Thank you, Emiliano. Is Domingo, is he also here?
Hi.
Here.
Sorry about that.
Welcome, Domingo.
Still at the office. Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. I really appreciate you guys. You know, Joe had a lot of colleagues. He had a lot of friends, and the fact that you guys were all in the thick of it with him means a lot. He respected you all, and for you to pay this kind of respect, it means a lot to all of us. And so just wanted to say thank you. Really appreciate it.
He loved you, Debbie.
I loved him too. I had a very funny text from him several days before. It started with, put down the chicharrones. I was like, okay. I was telling him about a place to get chicharrones, and so that's what he started the text with. But also we have I did reach out to a couple of folks that he has remained friends with, and we have former City Councilor Michael Cadigan, and also I did reach out to Senator Jacob Candelaria, who was very close with him as well. I don't know if I thought I saw Michael Cadigan earlier, and I don't know if Senator Candelaria was able to join us.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. This is Michael Cadigan. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words about our old friend, Dr. Joe. You know, I met Dr. Joe when I was campaigning for City Council in 2021, and everybody told me that this guy was the dean of West Side politics, and you had to get to know him and learn from him, which is exactly what I did. And over the 20 years of our friendship, I learned so much from Joe about the history of Albuquerque, the history of the West Side. I learned an enormous amount from him about land use planning, urban planning, but mostly what I learned from him was about sticking up for the little guy, even when it was easier to stick up for the big guy. And that was his whole mantra, was taking care of the little people who might not have political power or economic power. A lot of people knew Joe as a fighter, right? He was always fighting something, but I'll never forget the one fight that I knew of that he got into that he lost was about the West Bluff Shopping Center. And he didn't really lose that fight because even though that shopping center got built, land use planning changed forever in New Mexico, both in Santa Fe and in Albuquerque. A lot of the changes and protections we have for neighborhoods in our ordinances and our state laws. And not only that, but the New Mexico Supreme Court came out of that fight that he fought year after year after year to protect that neighborhood. And we all owe him a great debt of thanks for that. I also thank Joe for letting me be friends with his family. His sons, Domingo and Emiliano, they both taught both of my children karate. And it was wonderful. I got to have Domingo be my dentist after Dr. Joe retired. Although Dr. Joe never really retired, he would come in and take a look and see what things looked like every time I went in to see Domingo. And also for getting to know Joanne, who was just like an inspiration to us all. What a great mother, a great friend, a great supporter of all of the fights that Joe and we all were involved in together, and just recognize her as a wonderful person. But I have to say my most enduring memory of Dr. Joe, and I think a lot of you will share this, is him coming to city council meetings. You know, it'd be 10 o'clock at night and he'd roll in scrubs. He had these purple scrubs that he wore, and he literally just finished treating usually, you know, somebody who couldn't afford a corporate dentist or a homeless person. And he would roll into the city council meeting. He'd be, oh my God, did I get here in time? I wanted to speak on this bill. And he would speak, number one, eloquently, from an informed point of view, but most importantly, always for the little guy, for the homeless folks, for the poorer folks. He would always get up there and speak for them. And it was so inspirational that he was able to do that. So we're all going to miss Dr. Joe. There will never be another public persona, a lion of civic policy like Dr. Joe. And I wish that he rest in peace and blessings to his family. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Michael. And I don't know if Senator Candelaria was able to join us, but I do know that Treasurer Nancy Pierce wanted to also say a few words. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. I owe a great debt of gratitude to Dr. Joe. Just moving back to my home state and getting to know the lay of the land and the neighborhood that I moved into in La Mesa. And not just because I had neighbors that were original homeowners around me that could mentor me, but reaching out to somebody that was like-minded and fighting the same kind of fights that I was seeing in my community and that I wanted to engage with. And I think at that time, and I can't remember if it was 2001 or 2002 that I met Dr. Joe, and just loved that somebody else was reading planning code. And I wasn't the only nerd that could read it and go, well, this isn't right. And so we had a great alliance, and I don't think that anybody else really wanted to reach across to the West Side and go, you know, if I'm struggling with this and somebody else is struggling with it, there's all kinds of neighborhoods that are struggling with those same issues. And if we collectively educated ourselves and worked together, it would be fantastic. And Dr. Joe, as I said, was so like-minded that he went, well, absolutely, let's do this, Nancy. So we started a long 20 years of collaborating, working together, coming, as Councilor Cadigan says, to city council meetings, to going to EPC meetings, liquor license hearings, everything. And putting in those protections that were needed for community. And he was so supportive, working on neighborhood association task force together, just a whole list of things that would bore you to death. But, and we did it primarily in the evening, so I never got to meet his family. And bless you all so much for understanding how much he gave to community. That was so important. And it's just marvelous. I know I was never able to document this, but people had told me that Dr. Joe wrote into the journal endorsing me, and that he had never endorsed anybody else to the journal but me. And when I heard that, I just was taken back. I had never known that. And it was a great, great honor for me. I cut it out. It's in my scrapbook. So I really appreciated it. Thank you all so much for sharing such a great man with us. And Albuquerque will be just a little bit sadder because of his loss. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just one last thing. I was remembering when we had the event to celebrate the acquisition of the Oxbow property, which is known as the Pool property. There were a lot of speakers. Joe wasn't amongst them. He was sat back and he gave, basically stood back and gave a lot of other people credit. I did acknowledge him because he was the one person that reached out to me. And he was the one who was behind it. He was so determined to get this property acquired. That says a lot about him. Is he was not shy, but he also had a lot of humility. And so anyway, thank you again, and thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if anybody else wanted to say anything.
Thank you. Commissioner Barbeau, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to also say thank you. I was a sort of, I guess I would say, compared to now, young person when I first heard of Dr. Valles from the fight out there on the West Side. And I think it was such, hearing it from my own family and that lives there on the West Side, and learning that, okay, people can take things about our own communities into their own hands and really try and do something about it and influence it. So I just want to also say thank you all for sharing your dad with us, sharing your husband, your grandpa with us, because I know sometimes that means they're not at home, but you touch so many families and so many, the big pond, not no little pond man was he. So just thank you, and sorry for your loss, and sorry for our city's loss.
Thank you for adding that. And Yeah, thank you, family. I think I actually met Joe Vias in my district. It seems like he was just kind of everywhere and touching every life. He came to a neighborhood association meeting in like the farthest corner of southeast Albuquerque that you could get in that Four Hills area. And he was just like this big, sweet angel. And he came over and introduced himself. And he was just such a nice, nice man. So I think it's amazing how many lives he's touched. I can't even imagine. But I thank you, Commissioner O'Malley, for bringing this back so that we could all share some stories and honor him. And may his spirit continue on. We certainly need more like him in the world. So thank you. Okay, so moving on. Acknowledgement of the Operations Excellence Office. Presentation of acknowledgement by Shirley Reagan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, everyone, Madam County Manager. The International City County Management Association, better known as ICMA, offers awards in recognition of work that counties and cities do on their strategic plan and tying that into making it real by making it a component of their budget and measuring their performance towards these best practice standards. Maria and I kind of inherited the strategic plan back in 2014, 2015, somewhere around in there. But when we got it, we were getting there's three levels. There's the achievement, the distinction, and then the highest level, the excellence. And we were at the achievement level, and Maria kept working her magic on it, and got us in the last 3 years, we've maintained the excellence level. So I don't want to steal her thunder, but Maria Zuniga is the manager of the Operations Excellence Office. And she's here to receive this and also give some acknowledgement to her team, because she's got a great team that spends time working through this and working with departments to help make sure that we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it and what it ties back to in performing our duties as good stewards of the citizens providing services and the funds. So with that, I'll turn it over to Maria Zuniga.
Good evening, Shirley. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. And thanks to Julie, of course, and Shirley and all the deputy county managers, our department directors, our elected officials, all of them for their continued support and of course their participation in this program. It's like Shirley mentioned, it's been our third year receiving this highest level of award from ICMA, which in looking back to when our Operations Excellence Office was started just about 6 years ago now, those were the people that were winning the awards that we looked to figure out how to build this program. So it's great to have this full circle moment now to be leaders, and other organizations, cities and counties across the nation look to our program for how to do their performance measures and performance management and aligning to the strategic plan and all that it's involved with. The ICMA framework allows us the opportunity each year to take a look at our process and make sure we're ensuring key elements like data integrity, how we communicate with the public, and in keeping up with any emerging areas or trends out there in the industry. So we strive to improve our program each year, and ICMA's framework is really the guideline we use to help us do that. So to close it out, we do have our full team here, which I'm super happy about. Our Operations Excellence team, they've all joined us this evening. I'm going to start with just acknowledging each one of them individually. Start with Veronica Shornack, who's been a key member of our team from day one. She's an analyst specializing in performance, transparency, reporting, pretty much everything. But she works with all our departments on their performance measures. We also have Miss Victoria Organic, another analyst that we were added to our team about a year ago and has been with the county for a little while. She took the lead role this past year in preparing this application. So she knows, if you ever want to talk to her, in depth what it takes to show proficiency for this level of acknowledgement and all that it entails. Of course, we also have Angela Montano. She's our data specialist. She keeps all of our data current and accurate, ensures all of our systems are updated, and provides analytics on trends. And of course, we also have Miss Laurel Johnson. She's our amazing intern that has been with us for a few years now. We've been lucky enough to have her. She received her bachelor's degree from UNM with degrees in finance and marketing last year, but she's going now for her MBA. So we're lucky to hang on to her for a little bit longer. And she does it all, from building dashboards to research to pretty much anything under the sun. So I just want to say that I'm incredibly lucky to have this amazing team that does this amazing work, and to thank you all for this acknowledgement.
Thank you for all your work. Would anybody else like to speak? County Manager Julie.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to tell you all, Maria and your team, how proud I am of all of you and how appreciative I am of all your work. You have represented Bernalillo County so well that we're actually, they're helping us with our strategic planning in the CJCC capacity, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. So that's just not for Bernalillo County, but it's for other members, such as the DAs are involved, the public defenders, the courts, city, APD, and SO. So you guys are highly regarded and respected, and we just appreciate everything that you do for Bernalillo County, and thank you for taking us to the next level. And Shirley, thank you for your leadership. Really appreciate it.
And if I might add one more thing, Julie made me think about something. Maria didn't toot her own horn, but in that level of excellence, she is also a presenter at the ICMA conferences, and they call on her annually. They call on her to participate in various task force to just make everything better. So we are fortunate to have her on our team as a part of Bernalillo County and in the finance division. I appreciate that.
Ken, did you want to say something or? No,
No.
I saw you. Okay, you came off mute. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, County Manager Julie, for adding some of those extra stories about what this team does and the great work that Maria does with her team. What a great team and great recognition. So thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Public comment and communications. Before we hear public comment, we will proceed with our communications item, and that is 2020 census data, Bernalillo County redistricting, continued discussion and presentation of concept map, and Ken Martinez and Brittany Paz to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. We have a robust exercise here. We started probably a year ago waiting for the data to come in. And of course, the smartest thing we did was to hire the best team, which is research and polling. And then we got lucky in getting, I think, one of the best team members there from research and polling in Brittany Paz. And Brittany has been meeting with the commissioners, drawing maps, being readily available, and really looking at everything. The commissioners have done just an excellent job in reviewing the maps and keeping in mind the communities of interest and really representing their districts. So it's been a great exercise, and Brittany just keeps drawing maps for us and bringing up the concepts, and we add them to our website, and we allow folks to comment on them, and we're receiving comments. So it's been a very good process. We hope to get to that point where in December we can vote on what would be the final adopted consensus map. But with that, I'll turn it over to Brittany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. It's been such a great pleasure to work with all of you and do my very favorite thing, which is mapping and talking about data. So what I wanted to do this evening is just update you all with the newest iteration of the maps. And I can just run through briefly how that map looks different from the maps that we talked about the last time I was here. I guess it must have been in October. and then take any sort of feedback or questions that you all have, if that sounds okay, Madam Chair. All right, so I'm going to share my screen so we can look at the map. This is, as you know, Bernalillo County. We're calling this concept E3, or sorry, C3. And I am going to, this is another status quo oriented map where we're trying to change the boundaries as little as possible, but we have a couple of objectives that we're trying to accomplish with this map. One of which is, as you'll recall, District 4 was a little bit too large and needed to lose a little population. Concept C3 changes a little bit how we deal with the excess population in District 4, and I'll show you how we do that. The other objective of this map was to get the South Broadway neighborhood, East San Jose, and the Kirtland addition into District 3, and then sort of deal with the population shifts that resulted from that. So I'll show you how we're currently dealing with all of those. So in Concept C, what we had done to equalize the population between District 4 and the rest of the county is we had taken this little neighborhood south of Tanawan and put it into District 5 from District 4. Concept C3 no longer does that. Concept C3 maintains the existing District 4 southern boundary at Spain. But what it does do to equalize that population is it pushes the boundary of District 1 east into District 4. The original boundary was along I-25, and the proposed boundary under C3 is now at San Pedro and McKinney Drive between Paseo and Osuna. And so these 3 precincts are enough to take the population out of District 4 and get it to that within plus or minus 5% deviation from the ideal population. It also doesn't hurt District 1 to sort of take in those 3 precincts. So as I mentioned, the other thing that we were interested in doing in this map is taking the South Broadway, East San Jose neighborhoods, and the Kirtland addition precincts into District 3. The original concept concept E that we had talked about, I'm going to put on the boundaries of that concept, had taken the entirety of the sort of southern part of downtown, the country club area, everything east of the river all the way to Rio Bravo, and put that in District 3. And that had some repercussions for Districts 1 and 2. Concept C3 takes just a much smaller slice to get us to that objective of South Broadway in District 3. So we're going from, it's essentially Dolores Huerta Boulevard here to Woodward, and that's all east of 2nd Street. And so we just pull in this neighborhood. And again, I'm going to put on the old, this is the current boundaries. So it used to be District 3 came all the way here to about Yale. And we just pulled in this little square into District 3. What that means though, is that District 2 needed to take in a little bit more population. And the place we've decided to do that is this little corner between I-40 and Central, and this is west of Unser. This is Unser here. And so just taking in, this is 3 precincts, taking in 3 precincts into District 2 from District 1 was able to take care of the population that we put into District 3 from District 2. So if you'll recall in Concept C, Tahajali was going into District 2. There was a lot more changes. We were able to keep the changes to District 2 and 1 just right here south of I-40. The other objective that we have in this map is to keep Uptown whole. So I'm going to put on the current boundaries. They're in blue. Hopefully you can see those. The current boundaries come down Louisiana and split Uptown. And so what we've done in Concept C3 is we've taken the western boundary of District 5 to San Mateo. And this is, this right here is Comanche. And this is an arroyo. That's just how the precincts fell out. This is Wyoming, and this is I-40. So District 5 comes further west all the way to San Mateo between essentially Comanche and I-40 to keep Uptown whole in District 5. To account for that, District 3 comes from the original boundary at Louisiana and just comes up to to Wyoming. The other thing that's a little bit different about concept C3 as opposed to concept C, and I'm going to put on the boundaries of concept C in green. We had held the line here at Juan Tabo. I'm sorry, that was a brain fart. At Juan Tabo, and put this neighborhood in East Central into District 5. And we decided in Concept E to just keep Four Hills in District 5 and to keep that East Central area in District 3. So Madam Chair, those are basically the updates to the map in Concept C3. And I can stop sharing.
Okay. Thank you so much for that presentation. And if it's not there already, this map will be on our redistricting webpage on bernco.gov. And I know we've received some written comments that have gone to, maybe you guys were hearing me too. I moved my little microphone, but we have been getting some public comments that have been circulated to all the commissioners, and I know to you as well, Brittany. So we're paying attention to those. I'm wondering, does anybody have any comments right now? Any of the commissioners have any comments right now? Okay, I'm not seeing any. And so
Madam Chair.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Commissioner Benson.
Sorry, thank you. Ms. Poss, I just want to thank you for your flexibility in meeting with all of us and your patience and your willingness to share your expertise with us. It's been really helpful.
Yeah, I just thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to agree with that. And I know some of the thank you so much, Brittany, and thanks to all the commissioners just for like pieces. I think we're all working, to build to keep our districts whole and safe and feel like communities are able to vote together. So I think it's been a good experience. Thank you to everybody. So far, I know we're not voting yet, but yes, this concept feels really good to me, and I like the process and just that we've all been through it. One of the comments that we did get, right, talked about, and I wanted just to ask Brittany to repeat, I think she taught us, and in the many meetings I've now had with her, has repeated to us, right, sort of some of the things that are always kept in consideration, because one of the comments we did get was, what about like social equity? And I do think there is considerations for how that you all keep in mind and that we've all kept in mind to how we're thinking about these maps. So if you could just repeat that for our public and me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. Yes, so I think, social equity is sort of baked into the work that we do. And it's, not just because we believe in it, but it's also because redistricting is litigated at that level often. So redistricting is governed by the Voting Rights Act, which requires that communities of color are given the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. The way we have sort of implemented that in Bernalillo County is we have been really, really cognizant of the current majority minority districts, which are districts 1 and districts 2. So ensuring that we're not drawing any new plans that would dilute any sort of voting strength of communities of color by making those districts less than, over 50% voting age population Hispanic. The other things that we keep in mind are one of the traditional redistricting principles is communities of interest. And often that means taking into account folks who have similar political interests and not sort of cracking them into multiple districts where they don't have the ability to influence their representatives. Things like if we had drawn a line through the middle of the international district, for instance, and folks in the international district had to go to 2 commissioners to get their voice heard. Things like that we were really sort of cognizant of. Another thing we thought a lot about was not sort of cracking up the South Valley, making sure that the South Valley is a community of interest. It has a lot of sort of historical ties, really historic neighborhoods and a lot of political interest aligned, that they're able to stay together. So that's sort of what we've kept in the forefront of our minds as we've gone through this.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, and I want to echo that. I think, Brittany, you did a great job of explaining that. I know as part of my research for this, and I think some of the other commissioners did this as well, just driving around the district and seeing what feels like my district and what doesn't, because there's just something about that feel that you get that when you're in a different community. And so I think it's really important, that we keep those communities together, because the people in those communities have the same needs, policy, infrastructure, things like that. And as a commissioner, I think it's important to really, I think just being on the ground in your district and just knowing intuitively what those needs are and being able to advocate for that is so important. And so I have a feeling, we've all really been doing that. And I'll say it again, I love my district and I love my people. And I really want to, be able to advocate for my people. So, so that's how I'm approaching redistricting. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm also meeting with the elected officials from our state representatives and our state senators. I truly feel that they also have a sense of, what areas and what the needs are and how we can minimize, how we approach through the election process representation, as you stated earlier, on whether it's infrastructure or it's water or it's jobs or it's behavioral health. And so I've been meeting with a lot of the West Side elected officials as we look at this map and see if it's something that, because I really like to get agreement from everybody, not just our constituents, but also, the elected officials that I also represent them. They live in my district. I am their commissioner, and I think I should be listening to them as well. And just as a quick statement on South Broadway, and so I've gotten some emails about South Broadway, the Kirtland edition in East San Jose, is that I truly believe that Commissioner Barboa will represent them at a high level. And so we don't really feel that they're not going to have the type of representation that they deserve. I believe they will. And I just wanted to make that as a public statement, letting everybody know that as I talk with Commissioner Barboa and I understand her more and what her fight is for that area. And let's face it, that's her area. That's where she's from. Now, I know not every commissioner is going to be from that area. That's just the way it works out. We're not from every area that we represent. But I truly believe that since she's at the beginning of her tenure as a county commissioner, that she will bring smart, and very thoughtful decisions to that area. So, I gracefully bow away from those districts and happily turn those over, if that's the will of this commission, to turn those districts over to Commissioner Barboa. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things we did talk about was the downtown core, and I appreciate we looking at that very closely. The downtown core is kind of like, it's an area that, doesn't have a lot of necessarily neighborhoods. There's some neighborhoods surrounding it, but it's really important to have strong representation. And it looks like We do have maybe, is it 3 commission districts that maybe touch on that core, which I think is important because, you know, in order to get resources to downtown, a lot of times it's basically like no man's land. And of course, we've got to make sure that our downtown is, you know, is supported and that we get resources to it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments, Commissioner Barboa?
Thank you. I don't want to prolong us all that. I just want to say thank you, and to follow that, thank you, Vice Chair Quesada. And just to also for the record to say, right, that I think those, when we talk about community of interest, right, like I grew up in the very corner of my own district, which just is right along the boundary. So like, you know, like most of those families, they're like in the Albuquerque High area, they sort of shop on this side of town. That I just think there's, so with all appreciations, both because I also love my community and neighboring, and thank you to Commissioner Quesada for graciously, I know he wasn't trying to get rid of it, I was asking for it, so thank you, and thanks for everyone who's had to bend a little bit to let me get that part of the district, and I promise to do my best to represent and bring resources that I can to the area.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. And thank you so much. Brittany, is there anything else you wanted to add, or are we done here?
I don't think so, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and this has been just a lovely process. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we are definitely very lucky to have you working with us. Your professionalism and skill and just how fast you are and just how creative about just getting in there and making those changes has been just such a pleasure. None of us, I think, has ever done this before. So it's just been such a great experience for me. And I look forward to how this will turn out next month. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too.
And so now on to public comment. Julianne, how many people do we have signed up?
Madam Chair, we have 3 signed up. It appears that 2 are online with us.
Okay, so I will read the instructions. You will have 90 seconds to share your comments. You will then be notified when your time is up. You will then be muted and moved to the waiting room. Should any of the commissioners have follow-up questions to your comments, you will have an opportunity to answer. So go ahead, Julianne, and bring in our public commenters.
Okay, first we have Miss Maureen Bowen.
Hi, my name is Maureen Scourin. I'm a geographer and I have a paper published on redistricting. I'm also a current resident of District 4. I've lived in 3 different addresses on District 4, and I'd like to ask you to revamp your maps to make District 4 more of a community of interest. I feel like we're just a collection of leftovers. We have 6 different jurisdictions within District 4. That's unincorporated Bernalillo County, the city of Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Los Ranchos, Sandia Pueblo, and Cibola National Forest. And even within the city, we have West Side, North Valley, and Northeast Heights. These areas all have disparate concerns. So I'd like you to think less about the status quo and more about communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Okay, followed by Miss Linda Dietz.
Linda, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead, Linda.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Linda Dietz, and I live at 7017 Edith Boulevard Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87113. My topic is the 2014 Parks and Recreation bond language, limiting the use of its property to recreational facilities. In 2014, over 100,000 voters in Bernalillo County voted in favor of that bond language. In 2015, the county bought Sandia Ranch with those funds. Sandia Ranch is in Commissioner O'Malley's district. The county now has devised a plan that nullifies the stated purpose of that bond language. Those plans will be approved at a ZHE hearing December 8th. I am urging the commission to clarify what the 2014 Parks and Recreation bond language means before the county errs and uses Sandia Ranch for purposes not sanctioned by the 2014 bond language. Voters will have a right to feel deceived if the current plan is approved. Your silence on this issue is an outcry. Your silence is a cover-up of an impending misuse of public funds. It is an abuse of the public's trust. Again, I am urging the commissioners to address what the 2014 bond language means. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Dietz. And so that
And Chair, we did have a third person sign up, Ms. Jennifer Senna. She did not join the meeting, but for the record, and then we also received written general public comments from Geraldine Amato and Erica Rowland.
Okay, thank you very much. And I know we have received all copies of written correspondence, so thank you. And so moving on to approval of minutes. I move to approve the October 26, 2021 administrative meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Looking for a hand. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. All in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye, and I'll say aye anyway.
I thought we missed somebody.
You know what? I
Thank
had you off for last time. Sorry, Commissioner.
Or I'll say aye, 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 aye.
Aye, 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 aye,
No,
aye.
no, that'll-
Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. Now on to the consent agenda. And before I ask Madam Clerk to issue a resolution number, are there any changes to the consent agenda? Okay, Madam Clerk, please issue that resolution number for 7A.
7A is AR 2021-93.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I must apologize because when I prepared the signature file, I did not update the resolution numbers.
So it's 103?
Yes.
Okay.
You-
That's what I had originally. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, AR 2021-103.
Okay, so noted. Thank you very much. I will move to approve the 2 items on the consent agenda. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Casada. And all in favor? And Madam Clerk, call the roll. Please unmute yourself, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And so moving on to adoption of ordinance or amendment to county code.
Madam Chair,
Clerk.
I'm going to have to interrupt one more time.
Okay.
So, verifying the resolution numbers from the October 26th meeting, the item 7A that Madam Clerk just issued should be AR 2021-108, and then we proceed from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that is so noted and recorded. Okay, now moving on. Fire and Rescue 2021 ordinance updating chapter 34 of Bernalillo County Code. Chief Perez to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So this is a relatively simple code change. It's bringing us in line with the job that we perform. It's adding the term rescue onto the title of fire and rescue. And it's also designating the fire chief, giving the proper designation of the fire chief in the code. Code hadn't been updated for easily 13 years or longer. And as part of our accreditation process, this was one of the requirements that needed to go into effect. We're not changing anything on the outside facing to the public. We still remain Bernalillo County Fire Department, BCFD, but we do want the code to clearly distinguish that we are a rescue department as well. So that's what's before you.
Okay. absolutely, because that's a very important function of BCFD.
85%. 85% of what we do is medical and rescue related. So definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. Before we go on, Madam Clerk, I'm going to have to ask you to unmute again because in all the fluster here over that one resolution number, I wasn't able to get an ordinance number. So
Okay, no,
what's the
ordinance
ordinance for this item?
2021-22.
22, thank you. And Julianne, is anyone here to speak to this item for public hearing?
Madam Chair, no, there is not. Thank you.
Okay, then I guess we'll just take it to a vote. Commissioner Barboa? Would you like to move to approve?
Sure. Move to approve.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Casada seconds. So let's take a roll call vote and see if we can get rescue added into the county code for Chief Perez.
Mr. Barboa,
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley, Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. Thank you to BCFD for all the hard and important work you do. Commissioner Barbeau, did you have a comment?
Yes, sorry. I don't want to, maybe this would be at the time of the end of the meeting. I didn't realize that the behavioral health agenda item was on the consent. Sorry, I wasn't paying good close attention, but I guess I just, I don't think we need to pull it out or anything, but can I make a comment? Is that appropriate at this time?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? I thought you might want to say a little something about this. I know that the Addiction Treatment Advisory Board is important. It's something you're involved with. So yeah, go ahead and make your comment.
Yeah, sorry. And sorry again.
Oh, and I see Dan Duhigg is here too.
Yeah, I want to recognize all the work they did to get to this point. And I know, and I did have some questions, but my fault were beyond the time to pull it out. But I did want to comment because part of this board is trying to expand its membership to include more voices, which I think is honorable. And so I've mentioned many times at this with the commission, the different boards I am, that we are so fortunate to have all these really experts in the field of addiction treatment, volunteering their time and commitment. There is a piece that they want to make, there was a little bit, because I attend these meetings, a little bit of a chicken or the egg comes first, whether they expand the board and then get people on, or whether they have people intentionally, and also some questions about whether who gets to sort of make recommendations to the boards. But I think I'm just proud of that board. And I wanted to ask, as part of this presentation, was also that they are able to come more often. I just want to sort of maybe quarterly or whatever they'd be willing to do to present to us, to the county commission, right? About the work they've been doing, what they sort of see as the landscape is, addiction treatment in our county is so important. So yes, I wanted them to be seen, and for it to become a pattern of them being seen and heard at the commission meeting. And I don't know if Dr. Duhigg wants to make some comments. Thank you, Dr. Duhigg.
Yeah, and thank you, Commissioner Barbeau. We're not going to change the ordinance number and revote. It stands as is. Dr. Duhigg, go ahead.
I appreciate the commission's approval, and Commissioner Barbeau, thank you so much for all of your kind words and your kind of eager cheerleading for our presence here. And we would be delighted to present on anything that the commission would like us to present on. And we'd love to have a more regular presence to update and kind of give thoughts on our activities or any need and possible advisement that folks could need.
Thank you so much. Are there any other comments on this or on the other consent agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Commissioner Barbeau, for speaking up for that item.
Thank you, Chair.
And so we will move on to Planning and Development Services Zoning Code Amendment Cannabis Regulations. Lucas Tafoya to present. Or Nick Ham? Nick?
That would be me,
Is it
Madam
you?
Chair. So
Okay, go ahead, please.
I'll take it away. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Nicholas Ham, zoning administrator for Bernalillo County, here tonight to present agenda item 8B. That's ZTC 2021-0003. This is the proposed zoning code amendment specific to cannabis regulations in Bernalillo County. As you're all well aware, State of New Mexico recently passed the Cannabis Regulation Act, which allows local jurisdictions to adopt reasonable time, manner, and place regulations. In drafting this proposed ordinance, the department drew from lessons that we learned from regulating the medical cannabis program. Planning and Development Services staff attended local industry conferences. We created a working group with Sandoval and Santa Fe counties. We participated in New Mexico League of Zoning Officials and New Mexico Municipal League seminars. We interacted with staff from the newly created Cannabis Control Division. And we listened to regulators in jurisdictions that had experience in regulating cannabis, Colorado, Washington, California, for example. The document before you tonight also went through the County Planning Commission process, and that includes a public hearing. And we send notice to every registered neighborhood association as part of that process. Our Planning Commission was kind enough to give us a unanimous recommendation to bring this to your doorstep. And so here we are this evening. So the document before you, it aims to take a pragmatic approach to regulation that balances the economic development opportunities while also protecting public health in our existing neighborhoods and businesses alike. It aims to treat cannabis like any other product in the county, which is to say that if a zone allows for a specific activity for another type of product, that this ordinance will allow the similar cannabis activity to occur from that zone. For example, if a zone allows agricultural activity, you could grow cannabis in that zone. You could sell, deliver, and consume in our commercial zones. And you could process and manufacture in our light industrial and manufacturing zones. Now, there are some unique aspects in this code, mostly revolving around odor mitigation and control. So what we've tried to do here is create some reasonable limits on how you can produce and process cannabis and consume cannabis in the county. And so what we've done is we've created some limits on outdoor production areas. We've tried to create some separation distances for some of our smaller lots in the county. And we've added a filtration requirement for cannabis facilities to try and reduce odor emanating from these sites. Our hope is to allow this industry to flourish, but not at the expense of our neighborhoods or other businesses. And I want to point out that this ordinance does not get into the personal production or consumption, which is allowed by the state law. So adults can do as they please in the privacy of their homes as they wish. This is really aimed at the industry and the commercial aspect of the cannabis business. So with that, I'm going to stand for questions and I can go into greater detail as the commission would like.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I had brought this up, Mr. Ham, before. And just to, so what I think is important is that, and I think this is the sort of the direction we're heading, since this is, permissible now, it's legal to grow but to create a way for smaller growers not to be able to succeed. And I think that we all see the direction a lot of times this goes, is that it becomes this corporate, ag thing. And then before you know it, a lot of the smaller growers are cut out of the whole deal, and it's very difficult for them to survive. So we had talked a little bit about if you have a large enough property in an A1 zone, I don't know, 3 to 5 acres, can you process what is the problem with processing on that site, if you have a large enough site.
Madam Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, appreciate the input, appreciate your perspective, and I agree. We want to create a user-friendly document that provides opportunity for micro producers up to the large industry types of users as well. To the question about processing on agricultural property, there's a way that I think we could create a framework for that to be considered through either a special permit or a special use permit. The risk that I would point out to the commission would be those manufacturers or processors that use what the state calls volatile solvents, which are substances that are combustible. So what I would caution is that there are certain processes that are non-volatile or inert, and those are things that I think could be compatible in our residential or agricultural zones. But there are some aspects of this industry that do present hazards from an explosion or fire perspective. So taking your cue to build something into this document certainly can work with my colleagues in the management in my department to figure out a way that the planning commission or the board of county commissioners could at least consider something like that to occur.
Thank you.
Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you know, that's what I think the whole purpose is, to really start and help create, job opportunities, entrepreneurships within the state of New Mexico. But I think we really need to keep an eye on, and that is the odor. That's going to be the big thing that we are going to be dealing with, I think, over anything else when it comes to this industry, especially if you have agricultural parts of your district. I already dealt with it with the medical marijuana. I know that Enrico knows that I deal with it when it comes to odor. Insects was one kind of issue. We didn't know where the insects were actually from the pot plants or where they're from, but definitely odor is what we get a lot of, from that. And I know that if you're going to start processing, manufacturing, whether it's edibles or whatever, oils, rubs, different types of products, I think odor is what's going to be the big thing that we're going to have to be able to regulate, I think, in order to really keep a hand on this industry. So you're right? So we're not displacing other neighborhoods or other businesses, making them move out, because of this type of industry. We want them to work harmonious with everybody else. But the plain fact of this industry is that it has an odor. And we're going to have to really look at what we bring forward when we're looking at manufacturing, processing, and growing. Some of my heartburn is not with what we're doing, but what the state has allowed. To let an individual grow 12 plants of marijuana legally. 12 plants is a lot for a single use or even a single family. I think it's a bit overkill, and then I think it also hurts the industry when I could grow 12 plants in my yard. And so where do I don't need to go to an industry, right? Matter of fact, I grow enough to where I could sell to my neighbors, because 12 plants is a lot, and especially for somebody who, if they know what they're doing, 12 plants of marijuana is a big crop. I think it's bigger than just personal use, in my opinion. That's something the state's going to have to deal with, not us at this point. I think we'll cross that bridge, or they will cross that bridge when they get to it. But even with just that, there's going to be odor. So I just want us to be aware of that, and that we really look at that when we start looking at special use permits. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Barboa.
Thanks. I just have to take the opportunity to say to say out loud, right, that I think the norm, a lot of people, I was involved in the state legislature's push for this, and there was, I think it's our communities that asked for the that they can grow outdoor grow, right? Unless you're going to do all the work to do an indoor grow. For me, I really, my biggest hope in all this is that it is destigmatized as a medicine, and not, our communities have suffered long enough under the penalties of regulating and not regulating a plant that that really grows and yes, has an odor and it's natural. And so I really just hope a lot of our communities have suffered under those penalties and the both recreation and medical uses of it. I just really hope to destigmatize it, not as the way we look at big pharma drugs that are killing our communities, right? But that, marijuana is both medicinal and not harmful. I wouldn't even say as much as cigarettes or alcohol, right? But so I just had to say that out loud as a lifelong advocate and believer in the medicine of marijuana.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Malley, I don't know if you have your hand up again or still. Did
Thank
you
you.
have another comment?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I am obviously we've had the same issue with odor in the far North Valley. There's a pretty big facility there. I think if you have a really big facility and, you've got that kind of investment, you could probably afford to do something about the odor. But I think if you're growing, in the outdoors, and you're right, it's kind of skunky. We're going to smell it. There's no way around it, but I don't think there's anything you could do about it either. I mean, if you're talking about small growing, we're going to, find out what works and what doesn't work. This is really as was mentioned, it's kind of a process, right? About maybe some things aren't a good idea after all, and what we need to do to change it. And because it's new to us, I know a lot of time they've looked to other states, they've looked to Colorado, they looked to California. California, 80% of the pot that's produced there is black market because it's so expensive to get any kind of permits to produce there. So there's a lot that probably needs to happen. My thing is really, if we're going to do this, as was mentioned, let's not, we've had communities, the old communities here, longtime communities, whereas we know a lot of the people were jailed had to spend, time for having this pot. And now, that it's popular, it's like, wow, okay, who's going to really benefit from the economics of this? So I'd like to see some of the opportunities for smaller growers. That's basically what I was saying. Thank you.
Commissioner Benson.
Yeah, to kind of jump into the odor conversation, I think one of my bigger concerns is the consumption odor. We have family in Denver and close friends in Portland, and taking our little kids through Portland. I don't know how many of you have been there recently. It was crazy, the clouds of marijuana smoke that my kids were walking through, and I had to tell them to hold their breath. So, I know there's an economic opportunity here. It's yet to be seen how beneficial it will be to our community. Individuals consuming it, whether medicinally or for recreation, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't want to smoke. I don't want to smell cigarette smoke when I'm walking down the street, or have a big cloud of it blowing my face. And same with marijuana smoke, especially for my kids and people who don't want to do it. So that's just my 2 cents. I know that's outside of the scope of what we're talking about here. And Mr. Ham, you guys have your hands full. I know this is going to be a huge challenge, but you guys are tough. I know you guys are going to do well in the challenge.
Thanks. And Nick, I believe I saw something in the ordinance about the odor outside, the smoke outside, and
Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, specific to your comments, the current draft of this ordinance does allow for consumption areas, and it distinguishes between those that are medical specific or recreational. So we did create a space for those to happen. But what we also thought about was exactly your examples, that we want these to occur in standalone buildings or buildings that are separated from other businesses and indoors with filtration devices in place. So what we don't want to say is that adults can't consume as part of a business, but we also don't want to place an undue burden on the public as they navigate through public spaces. So we've thought about that specifically. We are sensitive to that specific concern. And I think that my take is that if we do it in this way, it doesn't add to the stigma of the consumption, and it creates safe spaces for people to go and enjoy themselves while also doing it in a discreet way that won't have impacts on public health or welfare.
Thank you, Mr. Ham.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, and your team. There's a lot of stuff in this ordinance, and I know that tonight we're voting to introduce and approve for publication. And so people will have at least 30 days to make comments and, for people to really go through it and see if this is a really good first start on this, because it's something brand new, and we want to see how close to right we get it the first time, and if we later find out we need to amend something, we can do that. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know we got a public comment this afternoon regarding this. So I encourage people to look through it and and give us their feedback. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Madam, I just wanted to add one thing, is that we are listening to obviously the commission, but we also are listening to the public. And I do anticipate that this document evolves over time. Speaking with the state cannabis control division staff today, they're also anticipating some changes with the upcoming legislative session. So one of the things that we did here intentionally was create a separate section that we could more easily reach into and adjust as we move forward and learn more about how this industry interacts with public spaces. So I thank the commission for the time, and we look forward to your thoughts and comments as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like I said, I appreciate all the work that you and your team have put into looking at public health, public safety, as well as the economics around it, and all sorts of issues. So I appreciate your work. So that said, I will move to introduce and approve for publication amendments to the comprehensive zoning ordinance of Bernalillo County, the cannabis regulations. Is there a second?
Adrian, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. All in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. And thank you. That passes unanimously.
Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you. Next up, Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for the following items, 9A and 9B.
All right. Julie and I have this right now. 9A is AR 2021-109. 9B is AR 2021-110.
Okay, thank you so much. And so the first one, Capital Improvement Program, 55th Legislature, second session 2022 capital outlay request to the state of New Mexico. Clay Campbell and Maria Martinez Encinius to present.
Good evening, Commissioner, members of the Commission. CIP Strategic Program Manager Maria Martinez Encinas has been working really hard over the last few months with our staff to propose the county's 2022 capital outlay request. So she's going to present briefly this agenda item this evening.
Yes, thank you, Clay. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Maria Martinez Encinas, and I am the Capital Improvement Program Strategic Manager. There is one motion before you this evening for your consideration and approval. The total amount of our legislative request is approximately $31 million for 36 separate capital projects. $52 million is the amount of committed funding from previous general obligation bonds, capital outlay funds, and federal grants, which are being used to leverage the county's new 2022 request based off the feedback received from legislators during and after the 2021 legislative session, department's expertise, commissioners' priorities, and committed funding. The resolution focuses on public safety facilities, a few county buildings, roads, and recreational facilities. There are also 5 requests that are nonprofits, which we have agreed to be physical agents for already. In order to address past state legislative requests, we have identified 3 or 4 priorities within each area so that each commissioner district has a priority request. We will start entering requests on the Legislative Council Services webpage as soon as CIP receives commission approval on the proposed resolution. We are working with county lobbyist Dan Weeks to set up some outreach sessions with legislators before the legislative session begins. Lastly, CIP recommends that the resolution be amended to add an additional request that was submitted after the publishing deadline. So it'd be 3K, which will read $275,000 to plan, design, construct drainage improvements, a basketball court, and related site amenities at Los Padillas Community Center in Bernalillo County. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. Clay and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Maria and Clay. Are there any questions? I'm not seeing any questions, and I think that's because you guys do such a good job of briefing us beforehand. I think all of us have met with Clay and Dan Weeks and gone over the requests. So is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, if we can have a motion to approve the amendment and then a motion to approve as amended.
Oh, that's a great idea. So I will go ahead and move to approve the amendment. And that's the $275,000 for Los Padillas Community Center. Is there a second for that amendment? Thank you, Commissioner Casada. So all in favor of approving the amendment? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley. Vice Chair Casada.
Yes.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And now we'll go on to the administrative resolution. And did I have a motion?
Yeah, I moved to approve.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. Is there a second for that one? Thank you, Commissioner Casada, Vice Chair Casada. So moved and seconded, all in favor. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you very much. That is approved unanimously with the amendment. Moving on to New Mexico Gas Company franchise agreement extension. Ken Martinez, please present to us on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. You will recall that County Commission enacted an ordinance that was a result of a compromise and agreement between the gas company in New Mexico and Bernalillo County for the use of the right-of-way in order to deliver gas to the residents in Bernalillo County jurisdiction. That was done by agreement. The ordinance was then negotiated and enacted by the county, and it was also a pending lawsuit. The lawsuit has just completed insofar as the final judgment has been signed, and under your ordinance, you give the gas company a period of time to sign the agreement that is the ordinance after the signature of the judgment, and that's what this does. It gives the gas company 30 days to sign the agreement, and they've agreed to sign it. We just have to go through this formality of passing this resolution. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you, Ken, and the legal team. I know that you worked really hard on this, and so it sounds like everyone's in agreement. The gas company's in agreement, and so we need to sign off on this basically to authorize a 30-day extension for them to accept the ordinance.
That's correct.
So I thank you. So I will move to approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. And all in favor, wave your hand. People are getting a little tired here. We need to move around. Okay, thank you. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
It's pretty over the top there, Commissioner. Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. I know it's 6:39 and it feels like 10 o'clock. So I think the time change has really kind of knocked us out a little bit. Moving on to approvals, County Manager, Future Behavioral Health Recovery Support Center, Operations Selection. Oh, Clay Campbell to present.
Good evening, Commissioners. Clay Campbell, Chief of Staff to the County Manager. This agenda item has three motions, and it's in response to an RFP we issued to find an operator for a future behavioral health building that's going to be built near the CARES campus off of Zuni. This procurement is still technically closed right now because the evaluation process has not been fully completed. And the selection committee just met today for the first time. And while we've only received one proposal, we still need to follow procurement's rules and processes to complete the RFP process. And so that's why the vendor is not named here. But the main reason why we wanted to get it on there is because Public Works Facilities is ready to get going on the design of this building. And it's really important that the design be informed through good programming, which the user of the building is involved in that. So we want to get your blessing to approve this. We'll be negotiating a lease user agreement contract with that nonprofit vendor as we get further along in the design process. But we want to get your approval now for us to work on that so that they can be at the design table when that project begins in earnest in December. So I stand for any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Barbeau, I see you're the sponsor of this. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Clay, for your explanation. I think it's important and, hopefully more to come as we build a community, right? We have great behavioral county health services in that area. We also have great need in our neighborhoods. And, in the cities developing the Gateway Center and the Gibson Hub. And it's sort of, I think we really have the opportunity to build a support and a community where people can feel like sobriety, especially our access to treatment and services is part of the way our community functions. So I'm excited for that, excited for this opportunity, and I move to approve.
Excellent.
Second.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Is that Commissioner O'Malley? I think so.
Seconded, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Your little mute thing looked like it was still on, and I was like, okay, so motion by Commissioner Barboa, seconded by Commissioner O'Malley, all in favor. Shake those hands, people. Let's wake up here. We just have a few more items to go. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Vincent,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
On to County Manager. Oh, Board of County Commissioners 2022 meeting schedule and 2022 county holiday schedule. Julie Morgus Baca and Julianne Baca to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So just basically what you have before you is the 2022 meeting schedule and the 2022 county holiday schedule. So the meeting schedule, was, you all have copies of that, received copies of it. We spoke about this at the last meeting. It's basically outlining all the meetings for zoning, our administrative meetings, our finance meetings, and then lastly, our budget meetings. I think the biggest change in my request for your consideration is we currently have 11 county holidays, and I am coming to you for a 12th. So, and that is actually Juneteenth National Independence Day. And as all of you are fully aware, June 19th is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of African-American slaves. And so I'm coming before you to ask for your approval of this additional holiday, county holiday, and I stand for questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? I see no questions. Commissioner Barboa.
I would just like to move to approve and thank County Manager for forward thinking.
Yes, thank you. And I'll second that. All in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Barboa,
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley,
Aye.
Mr. Casada,
Aye.
Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. It looks like we have one more voting item on our agenda from Human Resources, the collective bargaining agreement between the county and Afscme Council 18 Local 1461 Blue Collar, with Bernadette Perez to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We are last but not least. Human Resources is seeking Commission approval of the negotiated changes to the Afscme Council 18 Blue Collar Local 1461 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Negotiations between Bernalillo County and Afscme Council 18 Blue Collar Local 1461 commenced on July 30th of 2020 and reached tentative agreement on October 20th of 2021. Yes, it did take us over a year to get through negotiations. And I will say that, with the current pandemic situation and just delays, in scheduling and trying to get everyone together, it definitely put a strain on both sides. But the union was able to ratify their contract on October 27th of 2021. And this current contract expires on June 30 of 2022. I just want to say thank you to the management and union negotiating team members of the Blue Collar Local 1461 for their collaboration in reaching this agreement. I do see that Blue Collar Local 1461 President, Mr. Robert Sanchez, is in attendance in the event that he has anything to add. And otherwise, I stand for any questions.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Ms. Perez. Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. Also want to say a few words. I want to thank the county's negotiating panel, which is Bernadette Perez, Chief Perez, and Shirley Rajan. And also I want to thank my team, Rocky Gutierrez and Sean Baca. And also want to thank Julie Modgas Baca for all her help and her support for all the blue collar and of course all of the employees of Bernalillo County. Yes, like Ms. Perez said, this was a long road. It was over a year of back and forth and setting up meetings, and in the background hearing all the blue collar give me some grief to why it's taking so long. So I also want to thank all my team, my stewards, my board members, and also all the blue collar employees for their constant patience on us, finally coming to an agreement. And I want to thank all of you, Commission, for allowing us to be on this agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Sanchez. I'm a union member, and so I always speak every year on how important unions were to me, and how they were important for me to navigate through this COVID crisis. I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the acting union, Screen Actors Guild, I couldn't see a way to navigate this. It's because we collectively bargain. We know that a lot of times people have heartburn about collective bargaining, but it's powerful. It really helps pull that single guy has to, kind of negotiate for himself. He doesn't have to do that, under being a part of a strong and caring union. And, a lot of things throughout history that we take for granted came from the unions, 5-day work weeks, 8-hour shifts. I mean, a lot of things that, insurance, healthcare, a lot of the things that we get have come through the collective bargaining. And I think, yeah, it took a year, but I'm going to say this. Sometimes good things take some time to do it right. But the good news is it's a prime example of what people do when they come together, work together, and compromise. I'd like to see this country do more of that. Instead of finger pointing at each other, come together in the middle and figure out what's the best way to move forward. None of us are perfect. None of us, have all the answers, but how you find those answers and how you move forward is through collective bargaining, collective discussion. So thank you, Madam County Manager, for being a leader in that. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez, for being a leader on the union side of that. And I'm very, very grateful that we've come to another good starting point, right? Because we're always going to continue be talking and negotiating, but we're at a good place to move forward. So good job. Congratulations. I'm very proud to be a proud union member.
Thank you.
And County Manager Julie, I saw your hand go up next.
Madam Chair, I think Commissioner Barboa wanted to speak. I'll let her speak before me.
Okay. Commissioner Barboa, go ahead.
Thank you, County Manager, for yielding, and thank you, Chair. Yes, just same. I wanted to appreciate my father I grew up in a union household. I want to appreciate the patience it takes. And I just want to celebrate y'all. I know Commissioner Visconti's been saying, right, that we've are at the last of the agenda and everybody sort of tinkered out. I just want to bring all my good energy. Thank you for that work, over a year's worth of work, and really celebrate you all. So thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead, County Manager Julie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All I wanted to do is just, I just wanted to thank both the negotiating teams. They work really, really hard. And Robert, I want to thank you. I'm really proud of the job that you're doing as a union president. And I want everyone to know, and all your members to know, what a great advocate you have been for your members. And it's always been great. It's been very respectful. And I just appreciate the relationship that management has with blue collar. And I want to thank all our blue collar for all they do for the Bernalillo County and our citizens. So great job, you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner O'Malley, did you want to say something? No, okay. So yeah, I just want to echo that. Thank you for all the hard work on both sides. And yeah, we love our blue collar workers. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez, for being such a great advocate for your workers and
Thank
people
you.
who serve our community day in and day out, making sure that people are safe and all those other good things. So thank you so much. So is there a motion? I thought so, Commissioner Casada, being a proud union member. Thank you.
Proud to move for approval.
Thank you. And Commissioner Barboa looks like she wants to second. So all in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. And so that passes unanimously. Good job,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you, County Manager Julie.
Okay. And so that concludes the voting portion of our agenda. And so announcement of next commission meeting, that will be Tuesday, December 14, 2021. Our administrative meeting will be at 5 p.m. via Zoom. And if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.